When a crisis hits, everything feels like chaos. It's confusing, it's fast. But what if you had a simple, powerful system to cut right through that confusion? Well, that's exactly what we're breaking down today. CABCDE, the absolute bedrock of emergency first aid. It's a structured approach that forces you to fix what will kill someone fastest first. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to look at the why behind the system itself. Then we'll walk through each and every letter, starting with the most immediate threat, catastrophic bleeding, all the way to the final checks. And we'll wrap up with the one rule that you absolutely have to remember, the one that ties this whole thing together. Before we even get into the letters, this is the golden rule. You just have to burn this into your brain. You don't treat what you haven't checked. It's all about discipline. See, if you just jump in and act without assessing, you could easily miss the real, life-threatening problem. This entire system is designed to stop you from making that one fatal mistake. So what exactly is the primary survey? Well, think of it as a super fast, systematic sweep for the things that are going to kill a person right now. The keywords there are structured and in order. Why? Because the problems at the very top of this list are the ones that kill the fastest. That's why we always follow the system, no matter what. All right, let's get right into it. Section 1, the system that saves lives. Let's lay out the entire CABCD framework. And here it is, CABCDE. It stands for catastrophic bleeding, then airway, breathing, circulation, disability, and exposure. And yeah, you're seeing that right? There are 2 C's in there. We're going to break down what each one means, and more importantly, why that first C now stands at the absolute top of the priority list. So let's start with that first C, stop the bleed first. This isn't just another step. It was actually a huge shift in first aid thinking, moving away from the old ABC model that many of us learned. So why the change? Why did C for catastrophic bleeding get to jump the line? The logic is simple, and it's pretty brutal. A massive bleed can kill someone faster than a blocked airway. Think about it. You can't get oxygen into blood that's already on the ground. And the urgency here is just staggering. A person with a major arterial bleed can die in under 2 minutes. That's less time than it takes to boil a kettle. This is exactly why it has to be dealt with before you do anything else. So, what's the plan? First, you look. Is there a lot of blood? Is it pooling or spurting? Your immediate action is firm, direct pressure. Grab a bandage, a shirt, whatever you've got, and press down hard, right on the wound. Now, tourniquets are an option, but only if you're trained and direct pressure isn't working. The main thing is, you have to act fast. Don't wait. Stop the bleed, then you can move on. Okay, with any catastrophic bleeding under control, now we can move on to that classic vital pairing, A and B, airway and breathing. This is all about making sure oxygen can get in. Checking the airway, our A, is actually really simple. Kneel down by the person's head and ask loudly, "Can you hear me? Open your eyes." If they answer you, great. You know their airway is open. If they don't respond, you need to quickly look inside their mouth for anything obvious that might be blocking it. If they're unconscious, you have to open their airway for them. The standard move is the head tilt chin lift. 1 hand on the forehead, 2 fingers under the chin, and just gently tilt the head back. But, and this is a big one, if you suspect a neck or spinal injury, maybe from a bad fall or a car accident, you do not tilt the head. In that specific case, you use a different technique called the jaw thrust, which opens the airway without moving the neck. Once that airway is open, it's time for B, breathing. You're going to check for no more than 10 seconds, and you use 3 of your senses. Get your cheek down close to their mouth and look down their chest for any rise and fall. Listen for any sounds of breathing and feel for their breath against your cheek. Now, a really critical point here, if you see someone taking these strange, infrequent, sharp gasps, that is not normal breathing. It's a reflex called agonal breathing, and it's a sign of cardiac arrest. If you see that, you have to treat it as if they are not breathing at all and start CPR right away. Okay, quick check-in. The first C is controlled, A is open, B is happening. Now we can move on to the rest of the survey, C, D, and E, to finish our full initial check. This brings us to our second C, circulation. Here, we're looking for signs of shock. That's when not enough oxygenated blood is getting to the important bits. Look for skin that's pale, cold, or clammy. Do a quick body check for any other bleeding you might have missed. A really great fast check
is the capillary refill test. Just press on a fingernail for a few seconds. The colors should pop back in under 2 seconds. If it takes longer, that's a big red flag for shock.
Next up is D for disability. This is just a quick way to gauge their level of consciousness using a simple scale called AVP. First, are they A for alert? If not, do they respond to your V for voice? Still nothing? Do they respond to P for a painful stimulus, like a firm squeeze on their shoulder? And if you get nothing from any of that, they are U for unresponsive. Any drop on the scale is a serious concern.
And finally, we've got E for exposure. This means two things. First, you have to expose any potential injuries to see what you're dealing with. You might need to cut clothing to find hidden wounds or rashes. But as you expose them to check, you also have to protect them from exposure to the environment. A person in shock can't control their own body temperature, so covering them with a blanket or a jacket to prevent hypothermia is a critical, life-saving step. So we've made it from C all the way to E. We're done, right? Nope, not even close. And that brings us to the most important rule of this entire system. You have to remember, this is not a one-and-done checklist. It's a loop. It's a continuous cycle. A person's condition can change in a heartbeat. So as soon as you get to E, where do you go? Right back to the top. Is that bleeding still controlled? Is the airway still clear? You have to keep reassessing over and over until help arrives and takes over. So in the end, ABCDE is so much more than just a checklist. It's a mental framework. It's a tool that brings order to chaos and gives you a clear path forward when every single second counts. It lets you tackle the biggest threats to life one by one in the right order. So you have the system. The only question is, are you ready to act?